Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology and the energy for the year ahead for 2023. First, we're going to break down the numerology and the energy for the collective for 2023. And of course, remember, we are all a part of the collective, so we will in some way, shape, or form feel this energy and have to work with it in some way. So it is relevant. So I highly recommend listening to the intro to that portion. Then we will break it down into each individual life path number, and we will take a look at the energies that life path energy will be working with. So again, if you're a life path 1, you may have a different cycle or an additional cycle that you're working through in addition to that of the collective. So if that makes sense. So we're going to break it down for the collective, and then we're going to break it down for each individual life path number for 2023. Before we get into the forecast, this, of course, is a general reading. If you would like a personalized reading, this is a great time for your year ahead forecast. We'll take a look at your own personal year ahead cycle, your personal year ahead cycle, as well as your numerology and the transits and the cycles that you have coming up for 2023. And we will break that down to give you greater insight in what you could be personally be potentially working with for the year ahead. Of course, it's always a great time for, to get your numerology report run, to have a reading or a coaching session. So if you would like to work with me in any of those capacities, book some time with me. I would love to take a look and to work with you in that way. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. So I cannot believe, I feel like I say this every year around this time, but I can't believe it's almost a new year. But here we are in the closing phases of this 6th universal cycle of 2022, about to embark on another new adventure as we navigate through the 7 universal cycle of 2023. So I think 2023 is going to be sort of a mixed bag. And I say that because the energies of the 7 are very nuanced, right? But they can be very polarizing as well and divisive when in a shadow or within their extremes. So we could say that, we could say that about all the energies really, but the 7 can either use the sum of all of its parts to build a bridge, or it can burn that bridge down pretty quickly. So as always, it's what we choose to do with the energy that ultimately makes the difference. I say that all the time. But it'll be interesting to see how collectively we choose to work with this vibration. Because this can be a very intense, beautiful vibration to work with, but it certainly has its extremes, again, just like with any energy. But the 7 is unique. So basically, the energy of the 7 has 2 very distinct sides to itself: a very practical, pragmatic, logical, physical, investigative, like truth-seeking, knowledgeable, and fact-checking side, which can at times sort of lack trust in the unseen and within itself. It has this sort of energy of seeing is believing and discounting everything else, or not even entertaining anything outside of the seeing is believing belief system. This side of the 7 is very much in the body, so to speak, and it can be very hypercritical of itself and of others until it is able to prove its own point or find the quote unquote truth, right? And as we know, there are some truths that, always sort of give the same result, but then there's also personal truths, and there's truths that, that are based on belief systems, which are constantly changing. So you can see how that extreme could lead to sort of clinging to an illusion that is not real. So then the other side of the 7 energy is very much the opposite. It is very ethereal. It's head in the clouds, very spiritual, very psychic. 7 energy is the most psychic energy in numerology. Now, I would say we all have that, those abilities, right? But the 7 is almost just sort of already tapped into that. It's just what they choose to do with that energy, right? Or that gift. So anyway, it's a very psychic, very sort of playing in the realms of the unseen, seeing beyond the illusions and the limitations of the 3D reality, and embracing the more sort of intuitive, heart-focused side of life. So where the more physical, brain-powered side of the 7 is much more grounded, this other side of the 7 prefers its wings over shoes and is very much driven by feeling and inner knowing. So both sides of the 7 are very much needed and are beautiful in their own ways, right? However, one side without the other causes division, causes lack of trust, causes rigidity or aloofness, over attachment or over detachment. So too many roots or too big of wings and no roots. The vibration of the 7 is off balance when it isn't bridging these two very important sides of itself and finding its own balance between the two. So you could look at the vibration of the 7 as the ultimate when it comes to the union or the merging of the masculine, physical energy and the more ethereal, spiritual, feminine energy. And again, when I speak, I'm going to be talking about feminine and masculine energy as we move through this forecast. And I'm not talking about gender. So I just want to get that out of the way. I know if you listen to my channel that you know the masculine, we all have masculine, feminine energies from within. There are masculine, feminine energies within everything. And so that's what I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to the energy when I talk about that. So just as a precursor. Okay, so the 7 is the bridge, or is meant to be the bridge that balances these vibrations, right? So when that bridge is missing, we see imbalance, we see divisiveness, we see extremes of these energies. So one more dominant than the other and sort of out of control. So on a high level, we can view 2023 as a pivotal year when it comes to the collective balancing of the masculine and the feminine energies. 2023 has the potential to be the bridge or the building of that bridge sort of commencing, right? And so we can see if we look at the current state of things and the state of things over the last thousands of years, it's definitely been more masculine energy dominated, right, to an extreme. And so the last few years, especially, we see this rising of the divine feminine energy. There's a long ways for that energy to go to meet the masculine. And really, it's this energy or this sort of balancing act where the masculine energy needs to be brought down a little bit, right, as the feminine rises. And so again, 2023 has the potentiality to be sort of, again, the commencing of building that bridge, of allowing and supporting that feminine energy collectively to rise. And sort of balancing out that more masculine energy. We'll see, right? Because it's always, again, what sort of the collective consciousness, which is humans and, the living beings, right? Like what we choose to do with this energy. And really, I'm looking at you humans, at us. I'm human also. And so, but yeah, so as with anything, we rarely see sort of true progress or solutions without there first being some kind of like breaking point where things have to get worse before they get better. And again, it's like if there's too much light, there needs to be some darkness. If there's too much darkness, the light comes in. And so it's like, again, it's like this balancing. But in order to do that, balancing, to find that happy medium, there has to be some level of chaos. That's just sort of the way it works, right? There has to be that boiling point, that breaking point, to realize where it is that adjustments need to be made. So we have definitely seen this over the last few years. And I think 2023 will sort of be a continuation of that chaos. But I also think 2023 has the potential with this energy to bring to light hidden truths and monumental solutions that we haven't seen before and that help to shift the collective consciousness, sort of moving us closer towards that merging of the masculine and feminine energies, right? And so we will continue, more than likely, to see the feminine energies continue to rise under this 7 energy to meet those masculine energies. So I think we have the potential to make great strides in that direction, right? Of that balancing. I think that this is potentially a year for awareness, for understanding again where it is specifically that we really need to start making some major adjustments and what that looks like, and then coming up with those solutions. And so again, I don't think that everything's going to come to fruition. I don't think much is going to come to fruition under this energy, but it's the commencing of building that bridge, the building the container to support the feminine energy to rise to meet the masculine and to merge. So generally speaking, we could see a greater focus on health and well-being, advancements in medicine and cures for hard-to-treat illnesses, because 7 energy is also, again, it's very physical. It can be very physical. It can be very in the body. And so focus comes to the body and holistic health. And this, of course, would allow for greater longevity and greater quality of life. Holistic health can become even more of a focus, including a greater emphasis on how to manage emotions in a healthy, constructive way, and how to harness all of that powerful energy and channel it into something useful. So emotions are typically thought of as very feminine energy. How we express those emotions is can be very masculine, right? Because it's action, right? So there can be, under this 7 energy, a more focus on emotions and how we use those emotions and how we express them and all of those things, right? Like more of an emphasis on this, because we have been sort of conditioned to suppress that charged energy, which, as we know, it will eventually find its way out in very unpredictable ways. So that can, of course, be very destructive. So there could be more of a focus this year on tools and resources to help all humans sort of find their own best way to express that energy in a positive, constructive way. Also, with this 7 energy, we could see a lot of truth coming to the surface unexpectedly. So secrets being revealed, information that can be that can't be ignored anymore, that has the potential to create major shifts in perception and understanding, as well as shifts in action and outcomes. So 7 isn't energy that sits back and sort of like accepts the status quo at face value without doing a bit of its own digging beyond the surface layer. So if you tell a 7 that the sky is blue, they want to know why. Right? It's like they may believe that, but because they can see it, but they want to know why. They want to know the sort of intricacies. They want to know the hidden details. So we could see this kind of sort of collective investigative work take place this year, where more and more people sort of refuse to just believe whatever they're told by people in quote unquote roles of authority. So does someone or an entity know what's best for you? Maybe, maybe not. But the 7 will do the work to understand as much as possible before they commit to whatever they're being told to commit to. So this energy sort of encourages us to think for ourselves under every circumstance. Now that can be, you can take that to the extreme, obviously. But it definitely, this energy promotes that thinking for yourself, doing the work yourself, coming to your own conclusions based on the information presented to you, as well as your own inner knowing. The nature of the 7 is to be highly sensitive and spiritual, psychic, and intuitive. So it's very, very possible that this year we could see this could be a great year for all things metaphysical to finally come on stage and to take a bow, right? We could see things such as astrology, numerology, psychics and mediums, and other metaphysical sciences and divination tools find its rightful seat at the table, sort of garnering much needed and deserved respect, or at least we may get sort of an invite to the party, right? Even if our seat still isn't reserved just yet. We may not get the public recognition and approval that we deserve just yet, but we could definitely see an uptick in people becoming more sort of drawn to this side of themselves and recognizing the value in not only these services from others, but in growing their own personal gifts in a much deeper way. So we could also see sort of some religions that are more controlling and more sort of prescriptive or, just more like punitive in nature come under fire under this energy for perhaps unethical behavior or corrupt behaviors. So that may come into the spotlight this year. Because remember, the 7 energy is the truth seeker. It's the one who's going to dig deeper and sort of excavate anything hidden to bring it to the surface to be reviewed. And that doesn't just have to be religions. I mentioned sort of like traditional religions, even spirituality. There's corruption. There's all of these things in anything where humans have their hands in it, right? Like anywhere that the ego is involved, there is corruption, right? And so but there's really this sort of more like spiritual, religious, sort of, again, psychic, intuitive nature to the 7 that's more like philosophical and that sort of thing. So it's really, I think, going to be an emphasis on those areas this year, bringing things to light and bringing to the forefront these tools, these the more metaphysical side of things, bringing it to the spotlight, giving us a seat at the table that is much deserved and is, has been a long time coming. And we can already sort of see this happening. I was watching, or I follow Molly McCord, who is an astrologer. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are very familiar with her. And she recently, I can't remember the event that she was at, but it was with all of these speakers who, are like authors and like are healers and spiritual teachers and spiritual gurus and all of these things, right? And she was invited to that event and spoke about astrology. And I was so impressed by that. Molly is impressive on her own, but I was so impressed by that because that's what I'm talking about when I say it's like astrology, numerology, like psychics and mediums coming to the table, right? And being an active participant in these sort of mainstream events that normally we wouldn't get an invite to necessarily, right? We don't necessarily see that. And so I was really excited to see that. And I hope that that's sort of an indicator of what's to come because I could go on and on. But anyway, so I do think under this 7 energy, we're going to see more and more of that come to light. And I also think that, again, more and more people will start to sort of investigate and explore that side of themselves. So at the core of this universal vibration, the energy will be working towards bridging the seen with the unseen, the physical with the metaphysical, the heart and the brain, the masculine energy with the feminine energy. So this won't all happen this year, right? Little by little, things will be sort of finalized. Like, you know what I mean? They'll come to fruition, will be, solutions will be found. But I don't think that we're going to see that necessarily happen this year. This is like the jumping off point, I think. This is the time for the exploration and the planning, right? There is the potential for many seeds to be planted this year. And those seeds will be ready to harvest in the coming years. So this is like the preparation phase. This is where we start to get the insights and the downloads and all of that, and then start to plan. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at your individual life path number now to see what you're working with for 2023. Life path number 1. So I pulled an animal spirit message for you all for 2023, and you got white buffalo. And so this is so beautiful. The energy associated with this this card is so beautiful. So what's coming through with white buffalo, which is actually very much aligned with the energies that you are working with in 2023, which I'll talk about in a moment. What's come through is this energy of prosperity, of divine gifts opening up. Let me talk about that for a second. So divine gifts opening up. Okay, so if you think about like the ninth chakra, the ninth chakra is considered that chakra where our sort of divine gifts lie, where we have sort of all of the gifts that we've accumulated throughout, all the expertise, right, that we've accumulated throughout our lifetimes, right? And so they're stored in this ninth chakra, which we will unlock as we move through our journey on earth. And it's sort of, there's not anything necessarily that you would do to open those gifts. They are unlocked at the right time. So like divine timing. So it is very possible for some of you ones that 2023, and it's so aligned with the 7 energy that we're all working with collectively, which is very has a spiritual, intuitive, mystical sort of component to it. So it's very possible that 2023 for you all will allow you to open up new gifts, right? That will help you to build on the gifts that you're already sharing with the world, that you're already, that's already in use, right? So you may, for some of you, you may wake up one day and you're clairvoyant, or you feel the energy moving through you, and you feel called to practice or learn Reiki, right? Or massage therapy, and use your hands, or become an apprentice and work under, say, a shaman or a medicine healer, like a medicine woman or a medicine man or whatever. Or you may find that all of a sudden you wake up and you feel a calling towards something more practical, right? Like something, I don't know, like just a strong desire to go into accounting or something. I don't know, right? Like, but there is a very high likelihood that you will open up some new gifts, some new desires, some new passions, that you already sort of, it will feel like a remembering, right? Where you may take a course on it or whatever, but it's like you're relearning something that you already know, type thing. And so it's very possible that those types of gifts may open up for you in 2023. There's also this energy with white buffalo around not only opportunities coming in for you to increase your finances, to increase your status, those sort of things, but also this energy around lost opportunities. So there's something here about potentially something circling back around for you. So if, previously an opportunity came up for you and you were like, no, this just feels too big. I don't feel ready for this. I don't feel worthy of this, whatever. It's very possible that it will circle back around this year and represent itself. And now you may feel much more ready to step into that. So I would say pay attention to the opportunities that present themselves to you this year. And before you say no to them out of fear or, again, like, just not feeling worthy or whatever, really explore them. Really explore why you're saying no before you say no, because if it's presenting itself to you, it's because you're ready. You just have to get yourself into that space, right? That headspace. So pay attention to the opportunities that show up for you, especially if it's an opportunity that seems very familiar, like maybe it showed up previously and you said no to it, because there's something there for you that could be very prosperous and lead to something very, very lucrative and successful for you. Now, when we look at the energy or the numerology for 2023 for you all ones, you are, of course, working with the 7 energy that we're all working with collectively, but ones as a collective are working with the energy of the 8. And so what's beautiful about this is it goes very much hand in hand with the white buffalo message. So this energy throughout 2023 for you can have you looking at your responsibility, right? And really when these energies present, it's asking you to find your alignment, to see where it is that you need to find your equilibrium. So there may be something that's skewed, that's out of alignment, that again is like one extreme or another, right? So for you, there may be themes coming up this year around your responsibility. So that can be around your home or your work-life balance. Where those responsibilities lay. It may be that you're getting a promotion, or you are seeing an uptick or an increase in your clients, or your if you're an entrepreneur, like your sales or whatever. And so with that sort of added growth comes added responsibility, right? And time away from home and whatnot. And so again, it comes back to like balancing those energies and finding what works so that you're not neglecting one or the other. You could also see, now remember, when these energies present, especially collectively, collectively for ones, how it presents is going to be based on your own experience, right? Like your own journey. So it can be that, like for resources and money, maybe there's an uptick in your resources and your money, and you see things come through, and it's beneficial in that way. Or it could be that you experience some kind of a loss when it comes to resources, money. So like you or a partner may lose a substantial amount of income to where you are forced to find that inner strength, use your resiliency, find your resources, use your ingenuity and come up with new ways to make up for that loss. And so again, it's all, this is all a learning process. So, or it's like kind of like it's either a lesson or a reward type thing, right? In this journey. And so we just move with the energy and we work with it the best that we can. So if you find that if you are working with this 8 energy and you have a lot of resources or a lot of financial stability and financial rewards coming in for you, that's a great opportunity to circulate that energy, right? So not only use it for your own good, but also use it for the good of others. That's a beautiful lesson to learn through receiving abundance, right? Is circulating and sharing that abundance. This can also be an energy of karma. Karma is not good or bad. It's just, it's an energy. So it could be that people come into your life now where there's some kind of a soul contract to be played out, right? And so you may see people or experiences come through that have some kind of like a energetic contract tied to them, right? So you're meant to, it's either karma could be starting now, like another karmic cycle, or completing a karmic cycle. So you may see somebody that you've been working with or working something through, whether in person or energetically, now come to a close, right? And then a shift in that energy is very possible as well. You may notice this year a sort of an upgrade in status or a decrease in status. That's possible as well. So you might get promoted or demoted. And the power struggles may come into play for you this year. Take a close look at, especially like with family, friends, colleagues, really any of your relationships, any relating, if there's any power dynamics where it's out of balance, that's going to come to the forefront this year to really be looked at, to again start to build that bridge and come together in a way that is much more beneficial for all involved, as opposed to just one or a few or whatever, right? So power struggles can come up, you stepping into your power, you releasing someone else's control over you, whatever the case may be. Spirituality can also come in very, very strongly. And I use that term broadly, whatever that means for you, right? So your connection to something unseen, something bigger than you, or what feels bigger than you, right? That can be nature, that can be your higher consciousness, your inner self, your own intuition. It can be, God, or Allah, or the spaghetti man, or whatever it is that you you resonate with, right? Whatever it is that you subscribe to, that can come in very, very strongly this year for sort of asking you to find your connection to whatever that is, right? So because with this 8 energy, it's not only about the material things and the tangibles, it's also about the spirituality and like the connection to something bigger. So again, like the universe, the stars, whatever, something outside of self. So you could see that come in very, very strongly this year for you. And I would say definitely explore that. This could also be a year where you're asked to really pull from your inner strength. So pay attention to those opportunities where you are asked to pick a side or where you're asked to step into battle. Choose your battles wisely. And there are going to be times this year where you really need to choose peace over being right? Or compromise over being right. That could come in very, very strongly this year. And it could be also that you're asked to step into some kind of a leadership role and you need to pull from that inner strength to be able to do that. Let's see. Is there anything else that I want to speak to here? Oh, inheritance could come in for some people. This could be a time where the focus is put on other people's money. So other people's money coming to you. And then you're being asked to, decide what you want to do with that money, right? Or those resources. So that's very possible. Some people could see some kind of inheritance get finalized at this time. And again, there could be some kind of loss or gain within the physical during this year. And you're then asked to pull from your inner strength to figure out how to maneuver around this new reality. So if it's some kind of a major loss, now you need to go through that grieving process and figure out, what you want to replace that loss with. What does that look like? What does that process look like? What's next? If it's some kind of a large gain, now that also affects your reality. And so it can be that this year is going to be a time where you need to figure out how you're going to maneuver through this new reality. How are you going to balance these new responsibilities, this new accumulation or whatever, this new gain? How are you going to maneuver that so that it doesn't cause you to neglect other things that are also important in your life? So this year is going to potentially be very powerful for ones. You have the potential to make great strides in your business, in your leadership, in your finances, in money, as well as your relationships and the power dynamics within those relationships. This can be a very strong year for ones. And also 8 energy really complements 1 energy. It's like you've got the fire and this is the kindling. And so it's like helping you to really step into your 1 energy this year in a big way, and really take hold of those leadership skills and decide how you want that to look and play out in your own experience and what you want to do with that power, right? Because there is power in that. So yeah, very, very strong, potentially strong year for you all, ones for 2023. So I hope it is fantastic. But again, it's always what we do with the energy. So make it what you want it to be. All right, take care, ones. Bye for now.